Morning Stoic. Disciplined Stoicism. Listen every day. 1. Wake up with a purpose. Imagine a young man waking before sunrise while the rest of the city still sleeps. The room is quiet. There are no messages demanding his attention, and no voices telling him what to think. In that moment, he has a choice. He can stay in bed, surrender to comfort, and allow another day to pass without intention. Or he can rise and decide that today will have meaning. This is where the Stoic journey begins. Marcus Aurelius wrote reminders to himself every morning because he understood a truth that many people forget. Life rewards those who act with purpose. Most people spend years waiting for motivation to arrive. They hope one day they will suddenly feel inspired enough to change their lives. But the Stoics knew that purpose comes before motivation. A person who knows why they are getting out of bed can endure difficulties that would stop others. Purpose transforms ordinary actions into meaningful ones. It turns work into service, effort into progress, and sacrifice into growth. Think about how many people wake up and immediately become prisoners of reaction. They check their phones, compare themselves to others, and begin worrying about things beyond their control. Before they even leave bed, their focus has already been stolen. The Stoic refuses to live this way. The Stoic begins the day by asking, "What kind of person do I want to be today?" This question changes everything because it shifts attention away from circumstances and toward character. A story is told about a craftsman who spent decades creating beautiful furniture. People often asked him how he remained motivated year after year. He always gave the same answer. He said, "I do not wait for motivation. I remember my purpose." Every morning he reminded himself that his work provided comfort and value to families. Because his work had meaning, he continued even when he felt tired. The lesson is simple. When your purpose is clear, excuses lose their power. Purpose does not have to be grand. Not everyone will become famous, wealthy, or influential. Your purpose may be to become a better parent, build a stronger business, improve your health, master a skill, or serve your community. What matters is that you choose a direction. A person with direction moves forward. A person without direction drifts wherever circumstances carry them. Consider an archer aiming at a target. Without a target, every arrow misses. The same is true in life. If you do not define what success means for you, you will spend years chasing distractions. The Stoics believed that clarity creates strength. Each morning, they reminded themselves of what truly mattered. They understood that a focused mind is far more powerful than a scattered one. Another reason purpose is important is that challenges are inevitable. Difficult days will come. Plans will fail. People will disappoint you. Motivation will disappear. During those moments, purpose becomes your anchor. It keeps you moving when emotions tell you to quit. It reminds you that temporary discomfort is often the price of long-term growth. Imagine two people climbing a mountain. One climbs because someone told him to. The other climbs because reaching the summit fulfills a personal mission. When the path becomes difficult, which person is more likely to continue? The answer is obvious. Purpose provides the energy that comfort cannot. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he still needed daily reminders to stay focused. If one of the most powerful men in history required discipline every morning, then so do we. Success is not achieved through occasional bursts of effort. It is built through consistent action repeated day after day. Each morning offers a new opportunity to recommit yourself to your purpose. As the sun rises and a new day begins, ask yourself a simple question: what is worth my effort today? The answer may guide every decision that follows. Purpose is not something you discover once. It is something you choose repeatedly. Every morning, choose it again. 2. Practice gratitude before anything else. Imagine two people waking up on the same morning. Both have similar opportunities, similar challenges, and the same 24 hours ahead of them. Yet by the end of the day, one feels energized, hopeful, and determined, while the other feels frustrated, exhausted, and defeated. What created the difference? Often it begins with the thoughts they choose to entertain in the first few minutes after waking up. The first person starts the day by focusing on what is missing. He thinks about the money he does not have, the goals he has not reached, and the problems waiting for him. Before even leaving his bed, he has convinced himself that life is unfair. His attention becomes trapped by lack, and everything he sees throughout the day reinforces that feeling. The second person begins differently. Before checking messages or looking at social media, he pauses and reflects on what he already possesses. He appreciates the simple fact that he woke up to another day of life. He thinks about the people who care about him, the lessons he has learned, and the opportunities that still exist before him. Nothing about his circumstances has changed, yet his perspective has transformed everything. This was a lesson the Stoics understood deeply. They believed that gratitude was not merely a pleasant emotion. It was a discipline. It was a way of training the mind to recognize value instead of constantly searching for what was absent. Seneca often reminded himself that many of the things people take for granted today could disappear tomorrow. Because of this, he encouraged people to appreciate what they currently have rather than waiting until it was gone. Think about how often people postpone gratitude. They tell themselves they will be grateful when they earn more money, buy a bigger house, achieve a certain goal, or receive recognition from others. But the problem with this approach is that gratitude becomes permanently attached to the future. No matter what they achieve, they continue chasing the next thing, believing happiness exists just beyond the horizon. The Stoics saw this trap clearly. They understood that a person who cannot appreciate what they have today will struggle to appreciate what they gain tomorrow. Gratitude is not created by possessions. It is created by perspective. A grateful person can find value in simple things. An ungrateful person can possess abundance and still feel empty. There is an old story about a wealthy merchant who spent his entire life accumulating riches. He owned beautiful homes, expensive clothing, and vast amounts of land. Yet he was rarely satisfied. Every achievement only increased his desire for more. One day, he met an elderly philosopher sitting peacefully beneath a tree. Curious, the merchant asked how someone with so little could appear so content. The philosopher smiled and replied, "Because I spend more time appreciating what I have than counting what I lack." The merchant laughed at first, but the words stayed with him. Over time, he realized that despite all his wealth, he had trained himself to focus on scarcity. He had become blind to the blessings surrounding him. The philosopher, meanwhile, had learned to find richness in every day. This story contains a lesson many people need to hear. Gratitude does not mean pretending life is perfect. The Stoics never claimed that life would be easy. They experienced loss, hardship, illness, and disappointment just like everyone else. What made them different was their refusal to let difficulties erase their appreciation for what remained. When you begin your morning with gratitude, you create a foundation of emotional strength. Challenges still appear, but they no longer dominate your thinking. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of focusing on obstacles, you focus on opportunities. Gratitude also protects you from one of the greatest enemies of peace, comparison. Modern society constantly encourages people to compare themselves to others. Social media makes it easy to believe that everyone else is living a better, happier, more successful life. The more you compare, the more dissatisfied you become. The Stoics would remind us that comparison steals attention from our own journey. Gratitude brings that attention back. It reminds us that our lives contain value, even if they look different from someone else's. It teaches us to measure progress against who we were yesterday rather than against what others are doing today. A practical Stoic exercise is to begin each morning by identifying 3 things you appreciate. They do not need to be extraordinary. In fact, simple things are often the most powerful. You might appreciate your health, your family, a roof over your head, the chance to learn, or the opportunity to improve yourself. By doing this consistently, you train your mind to notice abundance rather than scarcity. Over time, gratitude changes more than your mood. It changes your character. It makes you more patient during setbacks, more resilient during challenges, and more content during ordinary moments. You begin to realize that happiness is not something waiting for you in the future. It is something you can cultivate right now. Marcus Aurelius understood that every day is a gift that cannot be guaranteed. None of us know how many mornings remain ahead of us. This realization is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create appreciation. When you recognize the fragility of life, even ordinary moments become meaningful. Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, pause for a moment. Take a deep look at your life and identify the blessings already present. They may not solve every problem, but they will remind you that your life contains more value than you often realize. Gratitude will not remove every obstacle from your path, but it will give you the strength to face those obstacles with a calmer and wiser mind. And that is why the Stoics practiced gratitude before anything else. They knew that a grateful heart creates a disciplined mind, and a disciplined mind creates a successful life. 3. Visualize challenges before they arrive. Imagine a traveler preparing for a long journey across a rugged landscape. Before taking the first step, he studies the map carefully. He notices rivers that may be difficult to cross, mountains that will test his endurance, and storms that could slow his progress. Some people might call him negative for thinking about these obstacles. But the traveler understands something important. Preparation is not pessimism. It is wisdom. The Stoics practiced a powerful habit known as negative visualization. Every morning, they reminded themselves that difficulties were a natural part of life. They knew that plans could fail, people could disappoint them, and unexpected challenges could appear without warning. Rather than fearing these possibilities, they prepared for them mentally. Most people move through life expecting everything to go according to plan. When reality proves otherwise, frustration quickly takes control. A delayed meeting ruins their mood. A harsh comment damages their confidence. A setback causes them to question themselves. The Stoics understood that much of this suffering comes not from the event itself but from the shock of encountering it. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that he would meet difficult people during the day. He did not do this to become bitter. He did it so that when challenges appeared, he would respond with patience instead of anger. Preparation transformed obstacles from surprises into opportunities for growth. Think of a sailor preparing for the sea. He does not pray for storms, but he prepares for them. Because of this preparation, he remains calm when rough waters arrive. Life works the same way. The more prepared you are mentally, the less power adversity has over you. Every morning, take a few moments to imagine potential difficulties. Ask yourself how a wise and disciplined person would respond. This simple exercise strengthens resilience and reduces fear. Challenges become less intimidating because you have already rehearsed your response. The Stoics knew a powerful truth: obstacles are not interruptions to life. They are part of life. When you accept this reality, you stop wasting energy wishing for an easier path and start developing the strength to walk the path you have. 4. Spend time in silence. In a world filled with constant noise, silence has become a rare treasure. The moment most people wake up, they are bombarded by information. Notifications flash across screens. News headlines compete for attention. Social media fills the mind with endless opinions and distractions. Before the day even begins, many people have already lost control of their thoughts. The Stoics valued silence because they understood that wisdom grows in quiet moments. Imagine a lake during a storm. The water becomes turbulent, making it impossible to see clearly beneath the surface. Now imagine the storm passing. As the water becomes calm, clarity returns. The human mind works the same way. There is a story about a young student who traveled to learn from a wise philosopher. Upon arriving, he immediately began asking questions. He spoke about his problems, his goals, and everything he hoped to achieve. The philosopher listened patiently and then poured tea into the student's cup. He continued pouring until the cup overflowed. The student quickly protested, saying the cup was already full. The philosopher smiled and replied, "Your mind is the same. How can you receive wisdom if it is already overflowing with noise?" The lesson stayed with the student for the rest of his life. Before seeking answers, he learned to create space for them. Silence gives you an opportunity to examine your thoughts. It allows you to reflect on your goals, your actions, and your priorities. It creates a mental environment where wisdom can emerge. Without silence, it becomes difficult to distinguish between what truly matters and what merely demands attention. Even a few minutes of quiet reflection each morning can improve focus and emotional control. During these moments, you reconnect with yourself rather than becoming lost in the expectations of others. You stop reacting and start thinking. The Stoics believed that a disciplined life begins with a disciplined mind. Silence is one of the most effective tools for developing that discipline. In quiet moments, you learn to hear your own voice instead of being controlled by the noise of the world. 5. Guard your mind from immediate distractions. Imagine a king who owns a vast kingdom. Every day, strangers arrive at the gates demanding his attention. Some bring valuable information. Others bring gossip, fear, and unnecessary conflict. If the king allows everyone to enter without question, chaos quickly spreads throughout the kingdom. Your mind is like that kingdom. The first moments of your morning are among the most important hours of your day. Yet many people immediately surrender them to distractions. They reach for their phones before their feet touch the floor. They allow messages, videos, and notifications to dictate their focus. Instead of beginning the day with intention, they begin it with reaction. The Stoics would have considered this a dangerous habit. They understood that attention is one of life's most valuable resources. Whatever captures your attention influences your thoughts, emotions, and decisions. Consider how different your mornings would feel if you spent the first 30 minutes strengthening your mind instead of consuming distractions. Rather than comparing yourself to others online, you could be reflecting on your goals. Rather than absorbing negativity from the news, you could be preparing yourself for success. A distracted mind struggles to achieve great things because its energy is scattered in countless directions. A focused mind, however, possesses extraordinary power. Like sunlight concentrated through a magnifying glass, focused attention can accomplish remarkable results. The Stoics practiced self-mastery by choosing carefully what they allowed into their minds. They recognized that not every piece of information deserved their attention. You must learn to do the same. Protect your mornings. Guard your focus. Treat your attention as something precious. The quality of your thoughts often determines the quality of your life. 6. Strengthen your body to strengthen your mind. There was once an old Stoic teacher who told his students that discipline is like a muscle. If it is never challenged, it becomes weak. If it is exercised consistently, it becomes strong. The Stoics understood that physical discipline and mental discipline are deeply connected. While they valued wisdom above physical appearance, they recognized that training the body often strengthens character as well. Imagine waking up early on a cold morning. Your bed feels warm and comfortable. Every part of you wants to remain under the blankets. Yet you rise anyway. In that moment, something important happens. You have chosen discipline over comfort. This decision may seem small, but repeated daily, it transforms who you become. Physical exercise teaches lessons that extend far beyond fitness. It teaches patience when progress is slow. It teaches resilience when effort becomes uncomfortable. It teaches consistency when motivation disappears. Many people believe successful individuals possess extraordinary talent. Sometimes they do. But more often, they possess extraordinary consistency. They have learned how to keep going when others stop. A morning walk, a short workout, stretching, or any form of movement can become a daily reminder that you are capable of doing difficult things. Every repetition strengthens not only your body but also your character. The Stoics knew that comfort rarely produces growth. Growth emerges when we challenge ourselves. By strengthening your body each morning, you reinforce the mindset that obstacles are meant to be faced rather than avoided. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. Every step, every movement, and every act of discipline builds a stronger version of yourself. 7. Review your goals and priorities. Imagine boarding a ship without knowing its destination. No matter how hard the crew works, the journey lacks direction. Eventually, the ship drifts wherever the wind carries it. Many people live this way. They work hard, stay busy, and remain occupied throughout the day, yet they never stop to ask whether their actions are leading them toward meaningful goals. The Stoics understood that busyness and progress are not the same thing. Each morning, take time to review your goals. Remind yourself what truly matters. Ask yourself whether today's actions align with the future you want to create. A wise archer does not release an arrow without first aiming. Likewise, a wise person does not begin the day without identifying priorities. Goals provide clarity. They help you distinguish between what is important and what is merely urgent. Without goals, distractions gain power because everything appears equally important. With goals, decisions become easier because you know where your energy should go. The Stoics regularly reflected on their values because they knew that success begins internally. They measured progress not by wealth or status but by growth and wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Every morning offers a chance to realign your life. Use that opportunity wisely. A few minutes spent reviewing your priorities can save countless hours of wasted effort later. Success rarely happens by accident. It is usually the result of intentional actions repeated consistently over time. 8. Accept what you cannot control. One morning, a farmer walked into his field expecting a perfect day. Instead, dark clouds gathered overhead. Strong winds swept across the land, and rain began to pour. Frustrated, he cursed the weather and spent the entire day complaining. Meanwhile, another farmer in a nearby field faced the same storm. Yet instead of wasting energy on anger, he adjusted his plans and focused on what he could still accomplish. At the end of the day, both men experienced the same weather, but only one experienced unnecessary suffering. This simple story captures one of the most important lessons in Stoicism. The Stoics taught that peace begins when we learn the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. Most people spend enormous amounts of energy fighting reality. They worry about other people's opinions, future events, unexpected setbacks, and circumstances beyond their influence. The result is frustration, anxiety, and exhaustion. Epictetus taught that some things belong to us and some things do not. Our thoughts, choices, actions, and attitudes belong to us. The weather, the economy, other people's behavior, and countless external events do not. Wisdom comes from focusing our attention where it can actually make a difference. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Every stone represents a worry about something outside your control. The longer you carry it, the more exhausted you become. Now imagine setting those stones down one by one. Suddenly, the journey becomes lighter. This is what happens when you stop trying to control everything. You gain freedom. You stop exhausting yourself over things that cannot be changed and redirect your energy toward meaningful action. Every morning, remind yourself that challenges may appear. People may misunderstand you. Plans may change. Unexpected difficulties may arise. Yet none of these events can determine your character. Only your response can do that. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As emperor, he faced wars, political conflicts, betrayals, and personal loss. Yet he repeatedly returned to the same principle: control your own mind. If you master your reactions, external circumstances lose much of their power over you. When you begin the day with this mindset, obstacles become easier to handle. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" you begin asking, "What is the best response available to me right now?" This shift transforms frustration into strength and confusion into clarity. The person who learns to accept reality becomes remarkably resilient. While others are consumed by circumstances, they remain focused on action. They understand that peace is not found by controlling the world but by controlling themselves. 9. Commit to one act of self-discipline. There is an old story about a young warrior who dreamed of becoming great. Every day he asked his teacher for secret techniques and advanced strategies. Finally, the teacher handed him a bucket of water and instructed him to carry it up a steep hill every morning before sunrise. The young warrior was disappointed. He expected something more dramatic. Yet day after day he obeyed. Months later, he realized that the exercise was never about the bucket. It was about discipline. By doing a difficult task consistently, he had developed the character needed for greater challenges. The Stoics understood that discipline is not built through grand gestures. It is built through small acts repeated consistently. Every morning offers an opportunity to strengthen this ability. Choose one disciplined action and commit to it completely. It may be waking up at a specific time, exercising, reading, journaling, or completing an important task before distractions appear. The action itself matters less than the commitment behind it. Most people make promises to themselves and then break them. They say they will start tomorrow, work harder next week, or change when circumstances improve. Over time, this pattern weakens self-trust. They begin doubting their own ability to follow through. Discipline reverses this process. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, confidence grows. You prove that your actions are not controlled by moods or temporary emotions. You demonstrate that your word means something. Imagine building a wall. Each disciplined action is like placing a single brick. One brick may seem insignificant, but hundreds of bricks create something strong and lasting. Success is built the same way. The Stoics believe that character is revealed by what we do consistently, not occasionally. Anyone can act with discipline when conditions are perfect. The true test comes when you are tired, discouraged, or uncomfortable. On those mornings, remember the young warrior carrying the bucket uphill. The task was simple, but the lesson was profound. Greatness often begins with small acts of consistency. Each day you practice self-discipline, you become stronger than the person you were yesterday. Over time, these small victories accumulate into extraordinary transformation. 10. Remember that time is limited. Imagine a wealthy man who spent his life chasing more money, more possessions, more recognition. He constantly postponed happiness because he believed fulfillment waited somewhere in the future. Years passed, and eventually he became old. Looking back, he realized that while he had gained many things, he had lost something far more valuable: time. The Stoics frequently reflected on mortality, not because they were pessimistic, but because they understood that awareness of life's limits creates urgency and purpose. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that life is short. Seneca wrote extensively about the importance of using time wisely. They knew that every day is a gift that cannot be recovered once it is gone. Most people live as though they possess an endless supply of tomorrows. They postpone meaningful goals, delay important conversations, and waste precious hours on distractions. Yet none of us knows how much time remains. Imagine receiving a bank account containing $86,400 every morning. The catch is that whatever remains unused by midnight disappears forever. Most people would spend that money carefully because they understand its value. Time works exactly the same way. Every day grants you 86,400 seconds. Once they pass, they are gone forever. No amount of wealth, power, or influence can bring them back. This realization changes how you approach life. Suddenly, procrastination becomes less attractive. Petty arguments lose significance. Meaningful action becomes more important. The Stoics believe that remembering death helps us appreciate life. It reminds us to focus on what truly matters instead of becoming distracted by trivial concerns. Far from creating fear, this perspective creates gratitude. When you wake up each morning, remember that today is a unique opportunity. The conversations you have, the choices you make, and the actions you take all contribute to the story of your life. Use them wisely. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not postpone your growth. Do not assume there will always be another chance. The present moment is where life happens. The most successful people understand that time is their most valuable asset. They protect it, invest it, and use it intentionally. The Stoics challenge us to do the same. Conclusion. The path to success is not hidden. It is built through daily habits that strengthen the mind, shape character, and create resilience. Wake up with purpose. Practice gratitude. Prepare for challenges. Embrace silence. Protect your attention. Strengthen your body. Review your priorities. Accept what you cannot control. Commit to self-discipline. Remember the value of time. These habits may appear simple, but their impact is extraordinary when practiced consistently. The Stoics did not become wise because they possessed secret knowledge. They became wise because they applied timeless principles every day. You do not need to master all 10 habits immediately. Start with one. Practice it until it becomes part of your routine. Then add another. Small improvements repeated consistently create remarkable transformation over time. A stronger life begins with a stronger morning. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity to become more disciplined, more resilient, and more focused than you were yesterday. The question is whether you will use that opportunity. If you enjoyed this video and want more powerful lessons on Stoicism, discipline, success, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Join thousands of others committed to becoming wiser, stronger, and more resilient every day. Remember, your future is shaped by what you do repeatedly. Start tomorrow morning with intention, and watch how your life begins to change.